If you're trying to make any kind of meaningful, effective change in your life, you've come to the right place. Good day to ladies and gents. Welcome back. This is going to be a part two with Lex Luger. We did part one last week. So if you missed it, make sure that you go back and listen to that first, then jump on back over here for part two. We are talking about life's tragedies and triumphs with Lex Luger and how he went from the depths of despair to the heights of where he's at now in a way he never imagined. So without further ado, let's roll.
Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not upon your understanding. Acknowledge him in all his ways, and he'll direct your path. That verse popped into my head. I felt the presence of God in the room. My breathing slowed down. And I laid there for hours like a chill pill until they finally realized that I wasn't coming downstairs. There must be something wrong. And they bashed my door down and rushed me off to Stanford Medical Center out in California.
Oh my God, that is just crazy. So you
Yeah.
so the whole, all of the other stuff that before you ended up in jail, and that hadn't, you hadn't seen the light yet. You still like God's knocking on the door and you're like, I don't hear anything. And finally, it takes you going to Canada and realizing, oh, you're not supposed to leave the country. You get sent back. Yeah, God really had his hands full with you. And then you end up in jail, which is obviously where I guess God said, I know where I'll put him. I'm going to put him there. Maybe this will work.
Yeah,
interesting.
That's what I needed.
Wow.
But I didn't have the jailhouse conversion either. I ended up getting saved a few months later once I was out of jail by Pastor Steve chasing after me, and God placed my life in pursuing me. Invited me finally to come to church one night, and I heard a message on the rock versus the sand. I realized my whole life had been built on shifting sand, not the foundation of God. I have a talk I give to people about faith, and it's not really just about faith. It's about some principles, the acronym I use when I give a talk about faith being the foundation in your life. The F stands for your foundation. What is your foundation? You may not be a Christian, but you believe that there's a God, a higher power, like you do in 12-step programs for drugs now, who wants the best for you, who loves you, has a plan for you, and you got to relinquish control and acknowledge and relinquish control over them, because you're at the point you're not going to fix this by yourself. So that was so I kind of use that when I give that my little faith discussion. I do it with adults, I do it with kids. I talk about the acronym faith. Faith stands for the F stands for foundation. What's the foundation in your life? Which I believe you need a rock foundation of at least believing that there's a God out there. The A stands for associations. Who are you associating with? I found out that I can hang out with a lot of bad influences. When my life went downhill, I was hanging with, bad places with bad people. And a lot of my mentors now have explained to me that if you want to see where you're going to be 5 years from now, look at the five people you hang out with the most, and that's where you're going to be.
Yeah.
The I in faith, the acronym, I stands for integrity, meaning do you have inspiring conduct, character, and conversation? That's the I. The T is, are you thankful? I find that if I wake up in the morning in a bad mood, if I try to think of something to be thankful for, wow, that chases away all those bad negative thoughts I have trying to crowd their way into my head and ruin my day. Because I always think of something to be thankful for. Well, I woke up this morning, whatever that may be. And then the H stands for me is a really big one. The H in faith, the acronym, I stands for, I talk to people about always remain hopeful. The Winston Churchill has that famous saying, persevere, never, never, never give up. And I find
I love that.
When I see people who have been through a lot, when they have that faith and persevering and always remain hopeful, man, that goes a long way. I
thought you were going to say humble. I was thinking the H. I was like, is it going to be humble? Well, I was trying to think of what you were going to say.
Those
Hopeful
go
is good
together. Humility
Yeah.
Because you're not humble. I find that especially people that are very successful, they can be the hardest. I think if you probably find the coach, because if there's not that humility there, people ask me, Lex, what turned your life around? What was your biggest stumbling block? Was it ignorance or arrogance? I go, I had a double dose of both. So when people are in a worldly, from every else's viewpoint, like I was, we're successful, that that it's really hard to get out from behind yourself. And yeah, for sure.
That's a good point.
But I had no humility. I was arrogant and ignorant at the same time. Bad combo. A deadly duo.
Yeah. And it almost killed you.
Oh yeah.
But apparently,
many times, I'm sure more times than I even know.
Yeah, more than once. Apparently, you have more things to do though on the planet. So I'm glad you were not successful. I'm glad it didn't happen. Right.
That's the beautiful thing about being thankful when you wake up, because God takes our worst trials, I believe, and our worst nightmares, and the comfort he gave me and got me through my spinal cord injury and getting over my past and being able to forgive myself and move forward. Like now I can comfort others. I do recovery coaching and addiction counseling, and I try to serve others. It's not me, myself, and I anymore. There's a joy formula, I call it, another acronym. I'm a big acronym guy. Yeah. And wordsmith. And joy formula, a friend of mine gave me, it means Jesus, others, and then you. It used to be me, myself, and I. Now it's J-O-Y, Jesus, others, and then you. So when you put others first and now I'm able to, for the comfort God gave me, comfort people in areas of their life who are going through maybe some of the similar things that I was going through, with whether it's drugs or alcohol or unforgiveness. I'm able to now lend them comfort, the same comfort God gave me.
So I imagine that you have discovered by now, being able to be of service to other people in your life, you've discovered that was the missing thing. A big part of it was, that you were searching for before and just couldn't fill up with all this other stuff, and then now you have, obviously you have your spiritual relationship, your relationship with God, which is awesome. But then putting that into an action that is serving others is probably, I would imagine, because I know it is for me, when you're able to do that, there's just nothing more fulfilling. You are filled up from the inside then.
Oh, absolutely. Faith without works and taking action is, it's actually a Bible verse, is like the lungs without breath. So very essence of us, the reason we're here is to love God, I believe now, and love others. And that love is expressed by wanting to serve others rather than just be self-serving and always have to get something out of it. I'm so the peace of the Holy Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control that we receive from, that God wants us to have. It just, my life has been just supernaturally transformed, Loree. I mean, when I look at, I took a couple notes here, and I, about our conduct, when I talk about integrity and personal integrity, there is never a right time to do the wrong thing and never a wrong time to do the right thing. And we talked about our conversations that we have. There's another acronym called THINK that I was given, and THINK talks about before you say something or text something or email something. Medicine has been a huge factor in my life. The THINK acronym means, the T in THINK stands for, number one, is it truthful? What you're about ready to say, or text or email or tweet.
Yeah.
Is it helpful? The H stands for, is it helpful? Means, is it going to be helpful to someone?
Right.
The I in think before you speak is it inspiring? Is it encouraging or not? The N in think stands for, is it necessary to stay? That's a big one. So I really, before I hit this button, or touch the screen, or I say this on the phone, or I text this, is it necessary for me to say this? And
Right.
then the K and think, is it kind?
Yeah. Yeah.
That for me
That's a
is
good
so
one.
helpful. My mentor said, Lex, you like to talk, and I still do. I struggle with that. I don't always succeed at these things I'm talking about right now. I fail all the time. And God gave us, I'm sure you've heard this, 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. We're supposed to listen
Right.
more than we
Yeah.
talk. That can be a
Yes.
real challenge for me and a lot of other people, for sure.
Yeah, I love that. I like the think one, and I think that that's really important too. But I think it should actually be like a disclaimer every time you open up your social media apps, because I think there's a lot of talking and sharing of words out there that are anything but kind or truthful or necessary or inspiring, that like don't check any of those boxes. And you know, it's just puts a lot of negative energy out into the universe, that, and we,
Yeah,
Lord knows, we
I
don't need
try
any
my
more.
best. Yeah, Loree, I'm sorry. I try my best to, I'm on Twitter only at Genuine Lex Luger. And I try to just put positive stuff out there, encouraging stuff, funny stuff that'll make people laugh that I see. I'll retweet a lot of funny things I see. I just try to make it a fun thing for people to go to. And I actually have a lot of fun with Twitter. And
I was on your Twitter, Lex,
mhm.
last week after we spoke to, you know, set this up today. And I was like, let me just see, you know, what social media apps he's on, so I know where, you know, where to promote stuff. And I went onto your Twitter, expecting, actually, I didn't have any expectations. I just wasn't sure, because obviously you're not wrestling these days.
Right.
But and I was sitting there, and Eric was sitting in the chair next to me, and I don't know, the news or something was on, and I'm chuckling away, and I'm scrolling, and I'm laughing, and I'm and then I'm laughing, and he's like, "What are you looking at?" And I said, "Lex's Twitter. It's all like animal memes and posts and funny things. It's really
Oh, yeah.
it's quite refreshing."
And Loree, what great medicine we all know laughter is, right? The joy
Yes.
of laughter, right? In a
Yes.
person's life. Oh man, so good.
Yeah.
So it has a healing, such a bomb. It's like a bomb. It's like a healing. It's so good. So yeah, I love trying to
Yeah.
put some of that, retweet some of the funny stuff you see on there. It's great. I love it.
I do too. It
So
was
social
very
media can
refreshing.
be a positive thing,
It
for
can
sure.
be.
Mhm.
Yes, it can be. So I want to ask you, you obviously, you know, you had the entire early half of your life, you were an incredible athlete, and you spent a huge portion of that either in the ring or in the gym or on the field. I mean, and now, you know, you are, at least you have some mobility now.
Yeah.
So like you said,
Thank you.
you can walk a little bit, you can drive, you know, you can, you don't have to depend 100% on other people to help you with everything. But do you ever miss it? Do you miss being able to be more physically active? Does that something that sometimes comes up that you have to kind of wrestle with a little bit in your mind?
You know, sometimes you think about when you used to walk in a room and all heads turned, and you know that
Hmm.
that 6'4" and 270 pounds of muscle. Uh, you're it's kind of cool to be under the radar now, though. You know, and
Hmm.
the skinny guy comes in the wheelchair. You know, and it's kind of cool. And I still go to the gym. I love to work out a little bit. Still, I do. I can't do the free weights or anything, but I still use some of the machines. I'll do a little bike cycling or a little treadmill thing. So I can do that. I love the gym and the ability. I actually have more. I used to do it because I had to do it. Now I go in there because I love it. And I
Mm.
love the atmosphere in the gym, the energy, the
Hmm.
positive energy in the gym. I actually have more appreciation working out now because what I can't do than
Ah,
I used to when I could do it all. And
that's
so I still
interesting.
love going to the gym. Yeah, I still, I just love being around in the gym still to
Yeah.
this day.
Yeah.
But if I
Well, you
do
know,
have, I can't work out for hours at a time. So it gives me a lot more free time to do other things. My life is much more balanced.
balanced. There you
Mhm.
go. So if you woke up tomorrow and you had 100% full mobility again, by the grace of God, would you go back to weight training like you used to?
I would hope that I would not be obsessed with it. I would hope that I would keep it in balance and maybe just be fit and not try to be a muscle guy.
Yeah,
Not that there's anything wrong with that for
right.
obviously what I did for a living, but I would
Sure,
hope I would be able to find a good balance if that did happen, not become obsessed with it like I used to be for
sure.
sure. But I think in a way, uh, I tell people God blessed me with my spinal injury because anytime God knows what we don't, and even though my life was transformed and I was saved and forgiven and redeemed, uh, I still would, if I remained the same, who knows what I
Hmm.
might have got back into wrestling. I might have, God knows I don't. Who knows what would have happened
Hmm.
if I still had the old the old
Hmm.
Lex around. So I feel
Right.
like there's a verse in the Bible talks about, I heard God says, Apostle Paul in the Bible, he said he had a thorn in his flesh. They think it was a physical affliction. And Paul kept on asking God to remove it because he could be even better. He's the greatest evangelist who ever lived. But Apostle Paul wanted this thorn removed so he could do even better. And God actually spoke to him. One of the few times God speaks out loud in the Bible to one of us. And God told him, hey, Paul, I'm paraphrasing here. Uh, my grace will always be sufficient for you. Keep in mind my power, not your puny power, not Lex's puny power being able to bench squat 600 pounds, the power of living God, the creator of all things, heaven and earth and stars and the moon and everything else. My power works best in and through you and your weakness. So I almost feel like when Jacob wrestled with the
Hmm.
angel and touched his hip and he had a limp the rest of his life, God did me a favor by limiting my ability to be the big muscle guy because he knew me
Hmm.
so well. So I never boast upon myself, that God kind of got that out of the way for me so I could be
Hmm.
more useful to him and his real purpose for my life.
So it's like he had to weaken you in order to get through to you.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Hmm. Interesting.
Mhm.
Interesting. You couldn't be a vessel for spirit to work through in the frame of mind that you were in when you had all of this physical ability that you were so dependent on and
Because
obsessed
it
with.
always became all about me instead of others.
Interesting. Yeah.
Mhm.
And you might not have found this place of being so, you changed your obsession from you to being able to help others. And I,
Absolutely.
I just love that because I know how much it's needed in the world. And there are people out there now, since your journey has put you in a position to have a very effective and meaningful positive change in the lives of other people. And really, what could be better?
One of my mentors, when I have my moments of self-pity, or I call my ER moments, he calls it the slippery slope into the muddy pit of self-pity. And it makes me smile that just if you have an attitude of gratitude and think of something once again to be thankful for, it pulls me out of that self-pity mode or
Hmm.
those dark moments that we all can, that I can still have and people can still have.
Sure.
For sure, I
Sure.
call my ER moments.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And it's okay to have that moment. You just don't want to
it
live
is
there.
right. You don't want to stay there.
You don't want to
I try
dwell
to stay there
there,
as short as possible. For
right? You
sure.
want to get in and get out.
One
Right.
of the coping mechanisms of saying that I love that one of my mentors gave me was, Lex, it's not the direction of the wind, but the set of the sail.
Mm.
Meaning, like people think, oh, Lex, you're not even realistic now. You're so joyful and happy. And oh, I got saved, and oh, I love Jesus, and all stuff. No, man, I had a spinal cord injury. After all kind of bad stuff happens to me every day, challenging things. I have a lot of things linger from my spinal cord, spasticity in my muscles and pain and things I have. Uh, I'm drug free, no meds, which is unheard of for my type of injury, and I'm very thankful for that. But I'm like, no, it's not always an easy road. But when the trials, adversities, and tribulations come our way in life, and they do. The winds blow on us all, right? The Bible tells us it rains on the just and the unjust. The sun rises and sets on the good and the evil. So, I mean, bad stuff happens to all of us. Sometimes our fault, sometimes somebody else's, sometimes from a stranger, whatever. Stuff happens. We live in a broken, fallen world at times. And I find that it's not what happens to us that we have control over. It's not, we can't control the direction of the wind. Sometimes it's at our back and things are going good. And sometimes it's in the wind's directly headwinds in our face. And what we do, but only thing we have control over is how to respond to trials, adversities, and wins, so to speak, in life. Is it's a set of our sail. We can change the direction of our sail, meaning how are we going to respond to this trial or tribulation or challenge in our life? We do have a choice. I know you know that from being an outstanding life coach. We have the ability of how we're going to. We have a choice how we're going to respond. I bet it's going to be a bridge to a better place, or we're going to carry it around as a burden. Are we going to get better from it and learn from it and why it happened, or are we going to become bitter? So I find that set of the sail thing pops into my head all the time. Okay, Lex, this isn't good. Okay, I'm thinking, okay, how are you going to respond to this? You know, are you going to reset the sail?
Right. And I think that that's such a good way to think about that too, because not only is it about response, but when, like that metaphor of adjusting the sail, means now you're going to use the wind instead of being used by it. So when that headwind comes in the form of the challenge, or, you know, the negative issue, the trauma, the whatever, you can just let it, you know, blast you and basically then beat you down and use you. But if you adjust, if you understand that you can respond differently, and you adjust in a way that the mindset is, how do I use this? Like,
I have a friend who tells me when I complain to him about something, he'll smile at me and go, Lex, the refining fire of adversity. I go, it's blasting pretty hot on me right now, but okay. So yeah, it's funny. It really is.
Do you have a going rogue story for me, Lex?
Well, you know my rogue story. I went from mine's the Apostle Paul story, the road to Damascus experience I had. I mean, 1 minute I was an atheist agnostic, and then I went to church and heard a message and went back to my hotel room and couldn't eat or sleep for a week. Called my pastor up and said, "What did you do to me taking me to that church service?" And
what'd you do to me?
He came to my hotel room, explained the plan of salvation, the gospel to me, and I got saved. So, I mean, here's an atheist / agnostic going on a limb, because I used to make fun of Christians. Well, like when Sting got saved before me, I thought I'd lost my best friend. I was so mad at him. I go, "What are you doing with that Jesus Christian stuff?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, what has happened to you?" And
oh, the horrors.
So for me to go from what I once was to what I am now is so rogue. I mean, it's so crazy. I had people that first heard, to go, "Wait a second, Lex is like a religious," they call it religious. Religion's about knowledge, not relationship. But but they said, "Lex is religious now? Like he's like a Christian guy?" They'll be like, "Really, Lex?" Like I was like one of the last people they ever thought would become a man of faith. Now I'm an ordained minister, and I counsel people, and that's rogue. I mean, that for me, it doesn't get any more rogue or insane than that. It's like I said earlier on, it is supernatural rogue. I mean, my gosh, to surrender, because for me to surrender to God, surrender to me was a word that was not in my vocabulary. So that was going rogue, because that takes courage for people to surrender their life and turn it over to God. I was a control freak. So for me to turn my life over to this higher power, or in my case, Jesus, was that, and Jesus take the wheel and move. That was hard for me.
I bet.
Because I was a control freak. I was addicted to being uncontrollable and thought I could fix everything. And when I couldn't, and I finally turned it over to him. But that was hard for me. That was going rogue big time for me.
So we're gonna wrap this up because I know you've got some other things you've got to get to. What would you say to our listeners is the value of going rogue, like in their own way? Where's the value in that?
Well, I think sometimes we have to step outside of our comfort zone. And I think that if it's done in a positive way, it can lead to so many things that we never expected in life, and so many doors can open. We sometimes get stuck, and our wheels are spinning. We're trying so hard to get out of where we're stuck. And sometimes if you just make a positive step in something maybe you're a little scared to do, or you thought of doing but you never have, man, going rogue can be, in my case, and I know probably a lot of other people that you counsel in your life, can be just an incredible thing. Even if it doesn't work out, sometimes just taking that step opens other doors that maybe that going rogue and that the particular application that didn't work out for you, but it'll open other doors of opportunity in your life.
Yeah.
By taking that first step to get out of where you were and going
right.
rogue.
And going
now, not
right,
recklessly
exactly.
or carelessly, but a planned, okay, I've always wanted to do this, I'm gonna try it. What's the worst that can happen? And yeah, definitely going rogue can be just
gets you unstuck.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go. See?
Yeah. Unstuck. Freedom. That's what we want.
That's right.
I love it. Lex, your book is Wrestling with the Devil, the true story of a world champion professional wrestler, his reign, ruin, and redemption. People can get it on Amazon, right?
They can. Okay. Barnes & Noble, Amazon, all the regular places.
Okay. Yes. You have been awesome, and I'm so grateful for our time and our conversation, and I really, really enjoyed it. I really did. I think that it's amazing. Your journey has been amazing, a bumpy road, but you know, here you are being able to be of such good service to so many people in such a much higher way than you probably ever even could have imagined in your earlier years.
No doubt.
Lucky to have you.
Loree, it's an honor to be on your show. I'm so thankful to get to talk to you again with the roads we took and where our roads parted, and now to be reconnected with you and with Eric, your husband is. I'm so thankful for that, and I'm just so. Thank you so much for having me on, Loree. I really appreciate you.
No, it's been completely my pleasure, really. So everybody, we are going to wrap it up here. Lex, remind me where you're only on Twitter, right? Is that the only social media that you're on?
Okay. At Genuine Lex Luger.
At Genuine Lex Luger. Okay, so that's where you can find him. Find his book on Amazon. And I guess final thoughts, you guys. You know, when your life seems to have completely come apart, just take a breath, because an opening will present itself, and it could be in the form of an opportunity, a book, a person, a tragedy, an accident. It could show up in any number of ways, but that opening is an invitation, and all you have to do is be willing to see it as an invitation to step into the next evolution of yourself by making what's maybe going to be a spiritual shift in your life. So everyone, thanks for hanging out with Lex and I. It's been a pleasure, and I know you got some great stuff out of this. Make sure, if you found value in it, to share it with some people you think would also find some value in it. Until next week, stay feisty, my friends. Stay open to the calling of the Most High and go make some epic shift happen in your lives. That goes for you too, Gary V.